Hello, and welcome back. I am so glad you are here today because we need to talk about something very important. We are going to explore the invisible habits that quietly hold us back. This is not about judging other people. This is not a video where we point fingers or call anyone foolish. Instead, think of this as a quiet mirror. It is a tool to help us look inward. The truth is that we all make mistakes. Every single one of us has ignored great advice at some point. We have all let our emotions run wild. We have all made choices that we regret. This is simply part of being human. Imagine two people. Let us call them John and David. Both of them are highly intelligent. They went to the same schools. They have the same natural talents. They both have big dreams for the future. But 10 years later, their lives look completely different. John is calm, successful, and surrounded by people who respect him. David is constantly stressed. He is always fighting with someone. He feels stuck in the exact same place. Why did this happen? It was not because of their intelligence. It was because of their daily habits. John learned from his mistakes. David kept repeating them. This brings us to a fascinating question. Why do smart people do foolish things? Why do highly educated individuals sometimes ruin their own lives? High intelligence does not protect us from bad decisions. A high IQ cannot save you if your mindset is closed. Sometimes the smallest habits are the most dangerous. They act like slow leaks in a tire. You do not notice them at first, but over time they leave you completely flat on the side of the road. Today, we are looking at 7 specific signs of a foolish mindset. As we go through this list, do not look for these signs in others. Look for them in yourself. That is where real power lies. If you can spot these habits early, you can change them. If you can change them, you can completely reshape your path. I encourage you to stay until the very end. Every point we discuss has a deeper lesson. It might just change the way you see your decisions, your relationships, and your entire future. Let us begin. Sign 1. The soundproof wall of ego. Many people think communication is a competition of speaking. They treat conversations like a game where they wait for their turn to talk. When you do this, you build a soundproof wall around your mind. Every time you interrupt someone, you lay another heavy brick. Every time you dismiss someone's experience, you seal another gap. Soon, you are trapped in a silent room. In this room, you only hear your own voice. You only hear your own opinions. You stop growing because you cannot hear anything new. Think about a simple example. Imagine you are lost in a strange city. You stop a stranger and ask for directions. But before they can finish explaining the way, you walk away. You say you understand and turn the corner. What happens? You get lost again. You waste hours walking in circles. This sounds ridiculous, but many people do this every single day in life. They ask for advice from a parent, a mentor, or a coworker, but they do not wait for the answer. They listen to the first 3 words, and then their mind drifts away. They assume they already know the rest. They walk away before the wisdom is delivered. Why does this happen? Why is listening so difficult? Listening actually requires a quiet kind of bravery. It requires you to admit that you do not hold all the answers. It requires you to step down from your pedestal and sit in the chair of a student. When you listen, you must put your ego to sleep. You must let go of the urge to look smart. A foolish person is terrified of looking uninformed. They think speaking constantly makes them look powerful. They fill every silence with noise. They talk over people. They correct others. They defend their ideas even when they are clearly wrong. But look at the cost of this behavior. Every person you meet in your life knows something you do not. They have walked down paths you have never seen. They have made mistakes you can avoid. They have survived pain you do not need to feel. When you listen carefully, you get a free map of their journey. You can learn from their victories. You can learn from their failures. You can gain years of wisdom in just 10 minutes of quiet attention. But when you build that soundproof wall, you throw the map away. You choose to walk through the dark jungle alone, stepping into every single trap. This happens constantly in our daily lives. Think about a young worker who starts a new job. They have a lot of energy and big ideas. An older colleague tries to show them a shortcut. The colleague has spent 10 years mastering this specific task. But the young worker thinks they know a better way. They ignore the advice. Months later, they make a massive mistake that ruins a project. The help was right there. It was free. It was offered with kindness. But the young worker was too busy talking to listen. Listening also changes how we connect with people. Many relationships fail because people do not listen to understand. They only listen to reply. They are preparing their next argument while the other person is still speaking. They look for weaknesses in the other person's words. This creates distance. It destroys trust. When people do not feel heard, they stop sharing. They pull away. Wise people do the opposite. They listen with deep curiosity. They ask open questions. They try to see the world through the other person's eyes. They do not have to agree with everything. But they are always willing to understand. To break this bad habit, you can use a simple rule. Make a conscious choice to listen twice as much as you speak. When someone is sharing something with you, pause your inner voice. Do not plan your response. Just focus entirely on their words, their tone, and their feelings. Ask yourself what you can learn from this person right now. Even if you disagree with their conclusion, you can still learn how they think. Every conversation is an opportunity to expand your world. Do not let your ego lock you inside a tiny silent room. Sign 2. The curse of the full glass. There is a very old saying about a cup of tea. If your cup is already full, you cannot pour anything new into it. It will simply spill over the sides and go to waste. The human mind works in the exact same way. One of the clearest signs of a foolish person is the belief that they already know everything. This habit might seem harmless at first. It might look like simple confidence. But in reality, it is a quiet poison. It stops you from growing. It stops you from learning. It locks you in a cage of your own making. Think about the psychology of a know-it-all. Why does someone pretend to have all the answers? It almost always comes down to fear. They are terrified of looking weak. They think that saying those 3 simple words, "I do not know," will make them look small. They believe they must always have an opinion on every topic. They must always have the last word. If you talk about science, they act like an expert. If you talk about business, they pretend to know the secrets of wealth. They wear a mask of supreme confidence to hide their deep insecurity. Imagine being at a dinner party. You are sitting next to someone who has this habit. Every time someone shares a story, this person interrupts to tell a bigger story. If you share a challenge you faced, they tell you exactly how you should have solved it. They do not listen to your thoughts. They only wait for a gap in the conversation to jump in. They turn every friendly chat into a debate. They must win every single argument. By the end of the evening, everyone is exhausted. People start avoiding them. Nobody wants to share their dreams or their worries with someone who only wants to lecture them. This behavior is incredibly sad because it destroys the chance to connect with others. It also destroys the chance to learn. Contrast this with the quiet confidence of a true master. Think about the smartest people you have ever met. They are often the quietest people in the room. They do not feel the need to prove how smart they are. They are perfectly comfortable saying, "I do not know, tell me more about that." They ask deep questions because they genuinely want to understand. They know that their knowledge is just a tiny drop in a vast ocean. This intellectual humility is the secret to their success. When you admit that you do not know everything the world opens up to you, you become a student of life. You start looking at every person and every situation as a potential lesson. You listen to the mechanic. You listen to the gardener. You listen to the child. You realize that everyone has a unique piece of the puzzle. But the moment you believe you have arrived, your journey ends. Your mind shuts down. You stop asking questions. You stop reading. You stop seeking mentors. You become a relic of your past self, while the world continues to move forward. This is why arrogance is so dangerous. It creates massive blind spots in your life. You make bad investments because you refuse to consult an expert. You destroy your health because you think you know better than the doctor. You ruin your relationships because you refuse to see your own flaws. You are like a captain sailing a ship with their eyes closed, shouting that they know the way. Eventually, you will hit the rocks. And when you do, you will still try to blame the sea instead of your own stubbornness. If you want to avoid this trap, you must practice the art of curiosity. Start by embracing those 3 powerful words I do not know. Say them out loud. It will feel uncomfortable at first. Your ego will scream. But you will quickly realize that people actually respect you more when you are honest. They will trust you because they know you do not pretend. Ask questions with a genuine desire to learn. When someone disagrees with you, do not get defensive. Instead, ask them why they see things that way. Try to see their perspective. Keep your glass empty so that life can keep filling it with wisdom. Sign 3. The broken record of mistakes. We must understand that making mistakes is not a crime. It is simply a part of being human. Everyone slips up. Everyone takes a wrong turn. You cannot learn to walk without falling down first. The problem starts when the fall becomes a habit. A foolish person does not just make a mistake. They make the same mistake over and over again. They run into the exact same wall. Then they wonder why their head hurts. They do not stop to look at the wall. They just get up and run into it again. Think of life as a very patient teacher. If you do not learn the lesson today, the teacher will give you the same test tomorrow. The test might have a different name. It might happen in a different place. It might involve different people. But at its core, it is the exact same test. If you keep failing, life will keep repeating the question. It will not let you move forward until you learn. A foolish person gets angry at the test. They complain that life is unfair. They do not realize that they are the ones holding themselves back. Let us look at how this plays out in real life. Consider money. Some people are always broke. They get their paycheck and spend it immediately. They buy things they do not need to impress people they do not like. By the middle of the month, their bank account is empty. They feel stressed and promise to do better. But when the next paycheck arrives, they do the exact same thing. They buy the same useless items. They feel the same stress. They are stuck in a financial loop. The problem is not their income. The problem is their pattern. They refuse to learn from the pain of an empty pocket. The same thing happens in relationships. We all know someone who always dates the wrong person. They choose partners who treat them badly. They get hurt and end the relationship. They cry and say they want someone better. But a few months later, they find someone new who behaves exactly like their ex. The face is different, but the behavior is the same. Once again, they get hurt. They wonder why they have such bad luck in love. But it is not bad luck. It is a repeated choice. They are drawn to the same toxic traits because they have not done the work to heal. They have not asked themselves why they keep opening the door to the same kind of pain. Think about the famous example of a hot stove. When you are a child, you might touch a hot stove once. It burns your hand. It hurts badly. But that pain teaches you a valuable lesson. You learn that the stove is dangerous when it is hot. You never touch it again. You do not need to get burned 10 times to understand. One burn is enough. This is how healthy learning works. But a foolish person keeps touching the stove. They get burned, scream in pain, and then touch it again 5 minutes later. They blame the stove for being hot instead of changing their own actions. If you want to break these painful loops, you must become a student of your own life. You need to start looking at your failures with total honesty. A great way to do this is by keeping a simple mental journal of your mistakes. When something goes wrong, do not try to forget it immediately. Do not brush it under the rug. Instead, sit with the discomfort for a moment. Ask yourself 3 simple questions. What exactly went wrong here? What did this situation teach me? What will I do differently next time? These questions are incredibly powerful. They take the sting out of failure. They turn your regrets into valuable experience. When you write down the lesson, you make a deal with yourself. You promise to grow. The next time you face a similar situation, you will remember the lesson. You will see the trap before you step into it. You will choose a different path. This is how you break the loop. This is how you turn a mistake into wisdom. Remember, your life will not change because you wish for it to change. It will not change because you complain about your problems. Your life only changes when your patterns change. If you keep doing what you have always done, you will keep getting what you have always got. Stop touching the hot stove. Stop running into the same wall. Listen to the feedback that life is giving you. Every mistake is a signpost pointing you toward a better way of living. You just have to be willing to look at it and learn. Sign 4. The comfort of playing the victim. Look at how some people handle difficulties in their lives. Whenever something goes wrong, they immediately look outside themselves. They point their finger at their parents. They blame their boss. They blame the economy. They blame their bad luck. They blame the weather. They blame everyone and everything except the person in the mirror. This is the classic victim mindset. It is one of the most comfortable traps in the world. But it is also a quiet death sentence for your potential. Blame is like a cheap painkiller. When you make a mistake, it hurts. Your ego feels bruised. To stop the pain, you look for a scapegoat. You say it was not your fault. Instantly, you feel better. You do not have to feel the discomfort of failure. You do not have to admit you made a bad choice. It makes you feel safe for 5 minutes. But while it saves your ego today, it completely rots your future. Think about the logic of blame. If the problem is outside of you, then the solution must also be outside of you. If your boss is the reason you are unhappy, then you cannot be happy until your boss changes. If the economy is the reason you are broke, then you cannot make money until the economy improves. By blaming others, you give away your power. You hand the keys of your life to other people. You become a passenger in your own car. You are letting strangers drive you toward a cliff. And all you can do is scream. Let us look at a story of 2 people. We will call them Sarah and Michael. Both of them worked at the same company. One day, a sudden economic downturn hit. The company had to downsize. Both Sarah and Michael lost their jobs on the very same morning. It was unfair. It was cold. It was completely out of their control. Sarah chose the path of blame. She spent her days talking about how evil the company was. She complained to her friends. She blamed the government for not protecting workers. She stayed in bed feeling angry at the world. She wrote a tragedy in her mind. She was the helpless victim, and the world was the villain. 2 years passed. She was still in the exact same place. She was still angry. She was still unemployed. She had allowed one bad event to define her entire life. Michael felt the same pain. He was scared and angry too, but he chose a different path. He looked at the situation and said, "This is unfair, but it is my reality now. Nobody is coming to save me." He took absolute ownership of his next step. He decided to write a comeback story. He used his free time to learn a new skill. He reached out to old contacts. He sent out 10 resumes every single day. Within 6 months, Michael found a better job with higher pay. The layoff did not destroy him. It actually pushed him to grow. The exact same event happened to both of them. One became a victim. One became a survivor. The difference was not the event. The difference was who they blamed. Sarah waited for the world to fix her life. Michael realized that he was the only one who could save himself. Taking responsibility is not about accepting guilt. It is about claiming your power. It does not mean that everything that happens to you is your fault. Terrible things happen to good people every day. You cannot control the wind. You cannot control the rain. But you can always control how you set your sails. You can control your attitude. You can control your effort. You can control your response. This is where real freedom lives. How do you stop this habit? The next time something goes wrong, notice your immediate reaction. Your mind will want to find someone to blame. Stop yourself. Take a deep breath. Instead of asking, "Who did this to me?" ask a different question. Ask, what is my role in this? What can I do right now to make this better? Shift your focus from the problem to the solution. Stop writing a tragedy. Start writing your comeback. Your life is too valuable to spend it waiting for other people to change. Take the wheel. Sign 5. The emotional hijack. Think about the last time you got angry. Your chest felt hot. Your heart started racing. Your mind screamed for action. You wanted to strike back immediately. In that split second, you were not in control. Your emotions were driving the car. This is what we call the emotional hijack. It is one of the clearest signs of a foolish mindset. A foolish person reacts first and thinks later. They let their temporary feelings make permanent decisions. Imagine receiving an angry message from a coworker, or perhaps from your partner. Your thumb hovers over the send button. You have just typed out a nasty reply. It feels good to write it. It feels like a small victory. You hit send. But 5 minutes later, the heat leaves your body. The anger evaporates. In its place, a cold weight settles in your stomach. You look at the words you wrote. You realize you cannot take them back. The damage is done. The trust is broken. The silence in the room is deafening. All of this happened because you could not wait 3 seconds. This is the tragedy of acting without thinking. We destroy years of trust in a single moment of rage. We build beautiful things, and then we burn them down because we felt a sudden spark of anger. A foolish person is a slave to the present moment. If they feel angry, they shout. If they feel excited, they make promises they cannot keep. If they feel bored, they quit. They live like a leaf in the wind. They go wherever their feelings blow them. This habit does not only ruin our relationships, it also drains our bank accounts. Think about the thrill of impulse buying. You see something shiny online. You do not need it. You did not even know it existed 5 minutes ago. But suddenly you feel a rush of excitement. Your brain tells you that buying this item will make you happy. You do not ask if you can afford it. You do not think about your long-term goals. You just swipe your card. The excitement lasts for an hour. The package arrives and you put it in a closet. Then the credit card bill arrives. The excitement is gone. Only the stress remains. The same pattern ruins our personal goals. You watch an inspiring video. You feel highly motivated. You decide to start a new business, a new diet, or a new habit. You act immediately on that excitement. But you do not make a real plan. You do not think about the hard days ahead. 3 days later, the excitement fades. The work becomes difficult. Because you acted on emotion instead of wisdom, you quit. You're back at square one. Wise people understand a simple truth. Feelings are like the weather. They change constantly. A storm might be violent today, but the sun will shine tomorrow. You do not build a house in the middle of a hurricane. And you do not make life-altering decisions in the middle of an emotional storm. Wise people experience anger, excitement, and fear just like everyone else, but they do not let these feelings make their choices. They have learned the superpower of the pause. There is a big difference between confidence and carelessness. A confident person can make fast decisions because they have studied the facts. They know the terrain. A careless person acts quickly because they simply do not want to think. They want to escape the discomfort of analyzing the situation. They jump into deep water without checking if they can swim. To protect your future from this habit, you must practice the pause rule. It is incredibly simple, but it can save your life. Before you reply to an angry email, pause. Before you buy something expensive, wait 24 hours. Before you make a big promise, sleep on it. When you feel a strong emotion, take 3 deep breaths. This small physical act does something amazing. It cools down your brain. It takes the control away from your hot emotions and gives it back to your cool logic. A short pause can save you from a lifetime of regret. One calm decision can protect your peace, your family, your money, and your career. Do not let your emotions hijack your life. Learn to sit with the discomfort of a moment without reacting. The power to choose your response is the ultimate form of human freedom. Sign 6. The slow decay of standing still. Let us look at a quiet river. A river never stops moving. The water flows constantly toward the sea. If you place a small boat in this river and do not row, what happens? You do not stay in the same place. The current carries you backward. Life is exactly like this fast-moving river. The world does not wait for anyone. Technology changes. Industries shift. Skills that were valuable 10 years ago are useless today. Yet many people decide to stop swimming. They refuse to learn. They refuse to grow. They think they can stand still in a world that is rushing forward. This is one of the saddest habits of a foolish mindset. It is the refusal to adapt. Many people believe that learning is only for the young. They think that once they finish school or get a stable job, the work is done. They close their books. They turn off their curiosity. They settle into a comfortable chair and plan to stay there forever. They want comfort. They want safety. But comfort is a dangerous illusion. In a changing world, standing still is the fastest way to fall behind. Think about why people stop growing. It is usually not because they are lazy. It is because growth is uncomfortable. Learning something new requires effort. It forces you to admit that you do not know everything. It makes you feel like a beginner again. And being a beginner is hard. It is awkward. You make mistakes. You look silly. A foolish person cannot tolerate this feeling. Their ego is too fragile. They would rather feel safe in their ignorance than feel uncomfortable during growth. They choose a slow decay over a temporary struggle. Consider a person who has worked the same job for 20 years. They know their daily tasks perfectly. But suddenly, a new software is introduced. It is designed to make the work faster and better. An intelligent person sees this as an opportunity. They might feel nervous, but they ask questions. They practice. They struggle through the learning curve. Within a few weeks, they master the new tool. They become more valuable. Now, look at the person with a foolish mindset. They refuse to learn the software. They complain that the old way was better. They say they are too old for new technology. They fight the change. What happens over time? The company moves forward. Their colleagues move forward. This person becomes a burden. Eventually, they are let go. They feel angry at the company. But the company did not leave them behind. They chose to leave themselves behind. They chose the comfort of standing still. This tragedy of wasted potential happens everywhere. We see it in health. People stop learning about nutrition and exercise as they age. They keep the same bad habits they had in their youth. They watch their bodies decay, believing it is just a natural part of getting older. We see it in relationships. Partners stop learning how to communicate. They stop trying to understand each other. They assume they know everything about their partner. The relationship becomes cold and distant. They did not actively destroy it. They just let it die through neglect. Wasted potential is a quiet tragedy. It does not happen with a loud bang. It happens slowly, day by day, as you choose comfort over curiosity. You decline the book. You skip the lecture. You avoid the new skill. You tell yourself that you are doing just fine. But inside your world is shrinking. Your options are disappearing. You are trading your future freedom for a small amount of present comfort. How do you escape this quiet trap? You must find joy in being a beginner again. You must fall in love with the process of learning. This does not mean you need to go back to school. It means you must keep your mind active. Read a book that challenges your beliefs. Learn a new skill even if it has nothing to do with your job. Ask questions when you do not understand. Treat every day as a new classroom. Remember, growth is a choice. It is a daily decision to step out of your comfort zone. The temporary discomfort of learning is nothing compared to the long-term pain of being stuck. Do not let your mind become a stagnant pond. Keep the water moving. Keep swimming. The world is moving forward, and you should be moving with it. Sign 7. The trashed map. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a thick, dangerous jungle. You want to reach the Golden Temple on the other side. As you prepare to step into the trees, an old traveler walks up to you. This traveler has crossed the jungle dozens of times. He has scars from wild animals. He knows exactly where the quicksand is hidden. He hands you a hand-drawn map. He tells you where to walk and where to avoid. He offers this map to you for free, just to help you survive. Now imagine looking at that map, laughing, and throwing it into the mud. You tell the traveler that you want to find your own path. You step into the dark trees completely blind. This sounds like madness. But this is exactly what a foolish person does every single day with good advice. Life is full of experienced travelers. We have parents, mentors, older colleagues, and wise friends. We have access to books written by people who spent their entire lives figuring out a single problem. These people offer us their maps. They show us how to avoid financial ruin. They show us how to protect our health. They show us how to build strong relationships. They package years of painful struggle into a few minutes of simple advice. Yet many people choose to toss the map aside. They prefer to stumble through the dark and fall into every single trap. Why do we ignore good advice? The first reason is our ego. We want to believe we are special. We want to think that our situation is completely different from everyone else's. We tell ourselves that the old rules do not apply to us. We want the pride of finding our own way, even if that way leads to a cliff. The second reason is that good advice is usually incredibly boring. People do not want to hear that the secret to wealth is saving money and waiting patiently. They do not want to hear that the secret to health is eating whole foods and moving daily. They do not want to hear that the secret to a great career is showing up early and working hard. They want exciting shortcuts. They want magic pills. They want a secret hack that lets them skip the effort. Because of this, they fall victim to flashy promises. They listen to charlatans who promise overnight success. They ignore the quiet doctor and listen to the internet guru. They ignore the successful business owner and listen to the friend who has never run a business. They chase the shiny illusion and ignore the solid truth. By the time they realize their mistake, they have wasted years of time and money. They end up exactly where the wise advisors warned they would. The tragedy is that the pain was entirely optional. The warning signs were clear, the advice was given. The map was in their hands. They simply chose to throw it away. Think about how much time you can save by simply listening. If someone has already spent 10 years making mistakes, you do not need to repeat those same 10 years. You can start where they finished. You can build on top of their experience instead of starting from the ground. This is how human progress works. We stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. Wise people actively seek out these maps. They look for mentors. They read biographies. They pay close attention when someone with experience speaks. They do not accept every piece of advice blindly, but they examine it with care and respect. To break the habit of ignoring wisdom, you must change how you receive advice. The next time an experienced person offers you feedback or direction, do not push it away. Do not let your ego say, "I already know that." Instead, pause and ask yourself a few questions. Why are they telling me this? What did it cost them to learn this lesson? How can this advice protect me from a future mistake? Stay teachable. Keep your mind open to the lessons of others. The maps are all around you. You just have to be wise enough to pick them up and follow the path. Let us take a moment to look back at everything we have shared today. It is easy to feel overwhelmed when we see these signs. You might look at this list and feel a little bit of guilt. You might remember a time when you blamed someone else. Or a time when you acted in anger. Maybe you remember a good piece of advice that you ignored. Please understand that this is completely normal. We all have a little bit of the foolish person inside us. It is simply a part of the human journey. Nobody is perfect. Even the wisest people in history had moments of doubt. They had moments of poor judgment. The difference is not that wise people never make mistakes. The difference is that they choose to look in the mirror. They choose to learn. The goal of this discussion is not perfection. The goal is simple awareness. Once you see these patterns, you cannot unsee them. You begin to notice when you are building a wall of ego. You catch yourself before you repeat an old mistake. You stop your hand before you send that angry message. This tiny pause is where your new life begins. Wisdom is not a destination. It is a daily practice. It is a choice you make every single morning. You can choose to keep your glass full, or you can choose to stay curious. You can blame the world, or you can take control of your path. The power has always been in your hands. Today, you have a fresh chance to choose a better way. Listen to the lessons around you. Learn from your steps. Keep moving forward.